one thing that some people ask about in the forums was like if we would have a Pipbug app like the Bethesda is
Oh,
doing
yeah.
with their yeah, and like regarding that, most likely not. Like
Well, it's almost
it's very
guaranteed. I
hard.
wouldn't say most likely. It's
Yeah,
almost guaranteed to be no, because
yeah. It's very hard to make uh something like a phone app to actually connect to anything like on your desktop or otherwise, and just like having that kind of interaction between two applications, it's very like high level stuff to get that working seamlessly. It's for something that would in the end be just a nice little widget is not like we don't have the resources and the knowledge to
yeah. I mean,
do that.
However, one could probably mod it in. I
yes,
think it would actually be very possible to mod it in. If, as long as you got the protocol set up between the phone and the computer, then actually modding it in isn't actually too difficult because you can do all the commands like equipping things and stuff like that and doing everything the Pitbug can do. That can all be done through the API. So
Yeah, assuming you have the
yeah,
knowledge to do
Okay,
that and
here's
time, which if you do, all the power to you.
Yes.
Just we won't be the ones doing it.
indeed.
here's a question. I think we may have actually answered this one. I honestly can't remember, but how we're going to implement the Pegasi and the Enclave since they can fly. I know a lot of people say that it would be hard to code, but honestly, it would be a little bit difficult, but the best way to explain it is that Unity has a sort of system that allows them to kind of walk in the air, I guess you could say. And the whole flying is nothing more than just different animations. There's a lot more to it, but I think that might be a good way to explain it.
Not really, but basically,
Not really.
basically what the thing is you can have objects which interact with physics but don't have gravity on them, or that you can control the forces such that they hover in the air. That's perfectly easy to do. There's nothing which says they have
Yeah.
to walk. But Zach is right though. The flying animations are just different, animations for them flying. The main issue is going to be what the AI is going to be, because I really want them to have like they're fast and agile, and they should look fast and agile and dynamic on the screen and not moving really slowly and just forward towards you.
Yeah, but you gotta make sure that
it's gonna be it's gonna be a challenge to give them that kind of feel like they have the.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a big challenge to do, but I think
inertia.
we need to do it because that's
Well, yeah, we need to do it. I was just saying like that's gonna be one of the biggest challenges to get them feel like anything different than like if they were
Well, I
just
definitely
walking
say
in
that
the air.
the Griffins would be probably different in the sense that they would be a little bit slower, but they would also be more powerful. Kind of give them the
right.
Either way,
I mean,
needless to
that's
say, we already kind of have a basic idea on how we're gonna do it, but it's not super simple, but it's also something that again we have a basic idea on how we're gonna do it. Like we're not just sitting here scratching our heads. It's like I don't know, probably not. I don't know. And actually, for those of you that might be fearing it, no, they will not be scripted. Like I know back in the day we were pretty much like back in the Equestria Softwork days, we were actually completely restricted to having them only be scripted flying, which was not very.
That's actually not true.
You had it where they.
I had flying working just fine.
No, shut up. Anyways,
Anyway, like it won't be scripted. Like we will try to make it as dynamic as possible, of course, and just be another type of movement for the NPCs essentially. But details we will get to when we actually start building that system, since we haven't actually gotten to that yet.
let's see.
What other questions did we have?
How will memory orbs be implemented into the game? Honestly,
like a cutscene.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, pretty much like a cut. Yeah, I mean,
most likely.
We do have some fancy ideas for effects for them, but like in terms of how it will work gameplay wise, it's just gonna be you have the thing in your pit buck. There's probably gonna be like a little play button or something on them, You just hit that. And,
or you just double click click to use them. I would imagine. Maybe with a little warning.
We'll figure
like,
out the
how
interface
exactly
later.
Like that's gonna work is it honestly doesn't truly affect anything. But
yeah, I mean, I'd say you'll probably be able to look around with your mouse just to make it a little bit more interactive. But other than that, it'll be like a
maybe, but like even that's gonna be most likely very limited, just because like
I mean, like in The Witcher 3, when you can move the mouse around a little bit to change your perspective, but not a huge amount.
Haven't actually played Witcher 3, so I can't comment on that.
You haven't played any games, Drag. I always keep telling him like, oh, you should just look at this game for inspiration. He's like, oh, I've never played that.
Yeah, I would play if you want to take on my job.
Drake is very defensive. He's also very against fun. He hates it.
I like fun when there's time for it. But yeah, regardless, like we will need to see like whether how much there will be like player will be able to control like the camera or otherwise, but they are most likely still gonna be very limited. Even just so that we can we don't need to worry too much about where is the player going to go at any given moment, and make sure that the player like sees everything relevant, since especially like something like the memory orbs, like they have a lot of like exposition kind of stuff and background story and stuff like that, so we want to make sure that the player is looking at what we want them to look at in those situations. So that's why like they won't be, and we like there were some people who say that we should make them like players be able to like play them out, like or like decide how things go with them, but like the way we look at that is that all of this has already happened, so like you're just an observer or spectator for the ride, like you don't have any control on anything at that point.
Exactly, you experience it as the character who is who is the subject of the orb, but you don't control them. You're in their body, and then they're speaking. You know, they say things and they do things, but you don't have any control over them. You're just experiencing a memory which they had. So yeah,
and they are very very limited in length. Anyway, so yeah.
What's another one? Here's one that actually looks like Hamish sort of vaguely, not really answered to. Are there going to be craftable weapons and workbenches like in Fallout 3 and New Vegas? Yes, there actually will be, and we actually do. We aren't doing the Fallout 4 crafting. That's quite extensive, honestly.
What's the Fallout 4 crafting? I've not really kept up with that too much.
The basic idea is that every weapon is kind of cut into various pieces, so you have like the barrel, the sights, the body, the stock.
We had that idea.
Well, no, in this they have it where you can completely change it. That is their entire.
I see. So like every weapon is just a combination of different parts.
Like
basically
that's
you
really
can
cool.
Basically you can change a plasma pistol into a rifle by just changing like the grip.
Like the body of it,
it's incredibly extensive, and it's also would be incredibly difficult to make.
Yeah, I mean you'd have to. Yeah, that would be really tricky. But
it will. It's nowhere like.
Impossible.
We have separate parts in terms of like modding the weapons and.
Well, yeah, but we don't have
you
like.
You can't like completely replace them out.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you can change like how one weapon behaves in that sense, but that comes down to like it. System like in Fallout 4, like it will not be something we would not be able to do, but it's also something that everything needs to be designed from the ground up to support that. And
I mean, if you look at the 44, there's no way in which you could change that to be a different weapon. The parts aren't modular for it. It's like a single piece, and the same with a lot of our other weapons. They're designed.
The same with all of our weapons.
Well, you can replace the barrel in most weapons and all that like that, but again,
designing it all to work together and like so that everything makes sense and still looks good. That all will like take significant effort, and it will basically scrap everything we have done so far. So it's while it does look cool what we have seen it, but so far for Fallout 4, like not something on our to-do list, unfortunately.
Here's one that we actually haven't been asked before. can you possibly put the game up as a mobile game by changing the controls slightly? And no, we really can't. There's actually a lot more that goes into changing something into a mobile game. There's actually a lot of, well, even programming.
You need to completely change the UI for it, essentially.
Yeah.
You need to change everything about how you interact with the game. And hell, first-person shooters on mobile games are really bad anyway. I mean, the control schemes just aren't set up for it. And then on top of that, there's performance. I mean, I can't imagine that it would run on any mobile device for the next several years, really.
I wouldn't say
I
that.
mean, you'd have to really turn down the graphics, like, a lot.
Well,
Yeah,
maybe.
even from simple like how many objects we have and like the
Yeah.
open world and everything like that.
Yeah.
It's gonna take a lot of like performance alone, like not to, when they mention like the graphical quality in and itself.
I mean,
And
we're
like
going...
they the game said, like it's not so easy to come up with a control scheme for mobile since you are basically limited to 2 touches at most at any given time, and like in very limited on like where you are able to even like touch anything, and if all the buttons need to be very large and so on. And like since we currently like we are not even like confident that like you will be able to get all of our planned like buttons and controls to work on, say, Xbox controller, simply because there is so much stuff we have for that and like the interactions. So they're putting all of that on the phone is just not a feasible task.
Really,
If someone managed to do it, and then like huge props to you.
Well, they probably wouldn't. You probably wouldn't be able to mod it in for that. We'd have to release all of our source files essentially for that to happen, which we may or may not do, but we don't really know. But yeah, speaking of when you mentioned objects, we are going for the sort of the Bethesda style of like everything in the game is sort of permanent and interactable essentially. Like it's, you know, there's a world and you can change things in the world, and all the objects are a complete unit in and of themselves. So yeah, it's a sort of, we're going for that sort of style with that. So but as a result, it means that you're going to have loads and loads and loads of objects all over the place, all of which need to be sort of dealt with. So yeah.
Either way, I think that. Wait, how many questions was it?
That's only
3, I think.
Yeah.
Are you sure? I think that was
we
more
asked
like
about
7.
Well, we had flying, we had memory orbs, we had mobile, and we had Pip-Bug. So 4 maybe. 4.
Wait, Pippa.
Yeah, someone asked if we're going to have a Pip-Bug companion app.
Oh yeah.
That was like a minute ago.
Wait, we talked a minute
So yeah,
ago?
one more question.
Hold on. I'm pretty sure. You know what? Here we go. Will there be vehicles in the game? The closest thing that there will be to a vehicle is the Sky Bandit, but honestly, that isn't even going to be like truly a vehicle. It's more going to be like a mobile base than anything. But
it's not gonna be a vehicle in the sense that you won't be able to drive it.
yeah, we're still not.
Are we gonna have turrets?
Probably not. I mean, well, not ones that you can jump on and use.
Okay.
But
There might be couple sections for like when with those like flying tanks, but even those like not sure.
Well, I think if we do the mechanic for it, then we should intersperse them like reasonably often. I think just having a couple of sections for it isn't really the good way to go.
No, you don't want to have like something that doesn't necessarily feel good and takes player out of control. If you can avoid it.
No, not like a turret section, but I mean like just a static turret which you can find. There's a thing there, and then man it, and then it's a more powerful weapon which doesn't use your ammo.
We are most likely not gonna have those, at least.
I mean, we might have like some kind of.
In which case, that's what I mean by turrets. I think a turret section is not a good thing to do, especially in this type of game.
I mean, one thing that we might have is like maybe some kind of upgrade for the Sky Bandit where you add on a turret onto the top of it, so that, you know, like maybe you're in a battle and you have a bunch of people against you and you want some help for it. You call in the Sky Bandit and it lands and just kind of fires on people. Again, this is all subject to change, so don't take it any as final, but that might be one idea. I mean, one thing that we did want to, like we mentioned before about the flying, one thing that we did want to make sure that we do is, even though we didn't want the player to be able to fly, that doesn't mean that your companions won't be able to fly. They, at least definitely Calamity, he's going to act as a sort of almost like fire support, pretty much. You can have him fly around. There'll most likely be some sort of setting that you can tell him whether or not you want him to fly around or to not fly around at all and stay on the ground, or maybe have it where he chooses. I don't know. We'll find that out later.
Detail spending.
But one thing that you definitely can do is, tell him, hey, you know what, I want you to constantly fly while we're in combat, and equip him with, say, a grenade machine gun, and have him just fucking saturate the area with grenades. That will be something that I am definitely pushing for, because that would be awesome. Even just dropping grenades on people, like the pull pin throw grenades, even that would be cool. Just seeing them flying over and dropping down a grenade.
Yeah, exact details you will see when all of that happens.
Yeah. Either way, that's about all the questions that we.
I think we probably better wrap it up.
Yeah.
It's
it's
been
3
2
a.m.
hours.
Yeah, it's been pretty long.
5 a.m.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So again, if you have any more questions, we highly recommend that you ask them on our forums, and we more than likely will answer them. I mean, we try to go through our YouTube videos and find some questions to answer, but some of them aren't too easy to find because there are quite a bit of repeating questions and whatnot, so we have to kind of look into it. But yeah, if you have questions, we will more than likely answer some of them, and I think that's about it. We can wrap this up.
Thanks,
Yeah,
everyone.
all of you
watching.
enjoyed, especially if you stayed
I'm
all the way to
talking
the end.
too.
So, thank you everyone for watching, and we will see you next time.